what's going to happen if you do tell.
Be back.
One of them was 9 and already drinking. One channeled his dog's death to win the role. One voiced the alien, and the habit that gave her that voice eventually killed her. Here's what happened to the cast of E.T. 44 years ago, a small film about a lonely boy and an alien became the highest-grossing movie ever made. It held that record for 11 years. You know the silhouette, the bicycle against the moon, the glowing red heart, the whispered, phone home. But the real stories of the people inside that film, those never made the screen. One walked away from Hollywood. He sorted mail for 30 years. One screen-tested for Indiana Jones. Today, he's an ordained Zen priest. One was a 67-year-old widow Ben Burt found in a camera store. 2 packs a day gave E.T. his voice. 2 packs a day killed her. And one went through more darkness before 15 than most of you will face in a lifetime. Let's see where they all ended up in 2026. Henry Thomas as Elliott. Henry Jackson Thomas Jr. was born on September 9, 1971, San Antonio, Texas. His father was a hydraulic machinist. He'd already shot Raggedy Man. Then a casting director flew him to LA for a Spielberg project nobody was allowed to read. He was 10 years old when he became Elliott. Elliott was Spielberg himself, the suburban kid breaking under his parents' divorce, a boy who invented the friend he needed. Henry Thomas had to carry that on a 10-year-old's face. He did it in one audition. But here's what most people don't know. The audition you've seen online, that's only the second half. The first half, Henry thought he blew completely. He lost the part the minute he opened his mouth. Spielberg pivoted, improvised this. Your best friend is being taken away. Henry had one memory deep enough to reach. As a small boy, he'd watched his neighbor's dog kill his own dog, right in front of him. He summoned it. He wept real tears. And you hear Spielberg's voice shaking from behind the camera. Okay, kid, you got the job. After filming, he went back to Texas. Teen roles in Cloak and Dagger, adult work in Legends of the Fall and Gangs of New York. Since 2016, he's Mike Flanagan's go-to face, Dr. Sleep, The Haunting of Hill House, Midnight Mass, 4 children across 2 marriages. Then, October 2019, Tualatin, Oregon. Police found him asleep behind the wheel, an empty THC tincture bottle in the door. He pleaded no contest. Today, in 2026, Henry Thomas is 54. Estimated net worth around $1.5 million. The star of the highest-grossing film on Earth, $1.5 million. The boy who won the role of his generation by reaching for the worst memory he had, he never became a movie star. He became something rarer, a working actor. Still here, still finding his way home. But another kid from that cast walked even further from Hollywood. He didn't come back at all.
Can you say E.T.? E.T.
E.T.
Robert McNaughton as Michael. Robert McNaughton was born on December 19, 1966, New York City. He wasn't a child of the screen. He was a child of the stage. Circle repertory, Henry V with Kevin Kline in Central Park. Then a casting director pulled him into the E.T. auditions. One session was a Dungeons & Dragons game at Harrison Ford's house. He was 15 years old when he became Michael. Michael is the older brother. He starts as a bully. He ends as the protector, the one who drives the van in the final chase, shouting through tears. He won the 1983 Young Artist Award. But here's where things get quietly remarkable. McNaughton never fell in love with fame. He led I Am the Cheese in 1983. By 2002, he'd retired from acting. He moved to Arizona, and in 1995, he took a job. Mail handler, U.S. Postal Service, Phoenix. He's been with the post office ever since, 3 decades. He transferred to Jersey City after marrying actress Bianca Hunter in 2012. Brief acting comeback in 2013. Then, back to the mail. Today, in 2026, Robert McNaughton is 59. Estimated net worth under $500,000. He left on purpose. Michael was the brother who put others first. Robert McNaughton played him once, perfectly. Then he walked out of Hollywood. He never looked back, and he never needed to. But one cast member almost walked an entirely different legendary path. He screen-tested for Indiana Jones himself.
Came back? He came back? Oh my God!
One thing!
Peter Coyote as Keys. He was born Robert Peter Cohan, October 10, 1941, Manhattan. He graduated Grinnell College, then walked into Haight-Ashbury. He co-founded the Diggers, a radical street theater group that fed runaways for free. He took the name Coyote after a peyote vision. He was 40 years old when he became Keys. Keys is the man with the keys, literally. He's the government scientist hunting E.T., but in the final act, he reveals himself as a fellow child of wonder, the grown-up version of Elliott. Now here's where things get interesting. The year before E.T., Peter Coyote screen tested for a different film, a script called Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was in the running for Indiana Jones. He lost to Harrison Ford. But Spielberg noticed something in those tests, a childlike fumbling. He filed it away. When Keyes came along, Spielberg cast him without a second read. Coyote became one of the busiest character actors of his generation. Cross Creek, Jagged Edge, Aaron Brockovich. But the real second act happened off camera. He's narrated more than 200 documentaries. He won Emmys for Ken Burns's The Roosevelts. In 1975, he started Zen meditation. He received full Zen priest ordination in the Soto tradition in 2015. His Buddhist name means Dharma Voice, Compassionate Warrior. Today, in 2026, Peter Coyote is 84, estimated net worth around $10 million. He was the man with the keys. He lost the whip to Harrison Ford. He found the voice that narrates America for Ken Burns. He quietly became a priest. Keyes was supposed to open doors. Peter Coyote became the door. And speaking of voices, one woman you haven't met yet was paid less than a weekend's rent for a voice a billion people would hear. Hold that thought.
They're going to have to take him away now.
We're just gonna cut him all up.
Dee Wallace as Mary. She was born Deanna Bowers, December 14th, 1948, Kansas City, Kansas. Her father was a severe alcoholic. He died by suicide when Dee was in high school. She put herself through the University of Kansas, then drove east to act. She was 33 years old when she became Mary Taylor. Mary is the emotional center of E.T., the exhausted single mother holding 3 children's lives together. Spielberg made a specific choice in the first half of the film. Every adult is shot from the waist down, a Tex Avery tribute. The one exception was Dee Wallace. He needed her face. Here's the detail that connects her to another corner of Hollywood. Before E.T., she was already the scream queen of her generation. The Hills Have Eyes, The Howling. 1 year after E.T., a rabid Street Bernard nearly ate her in Cujo. The only mom in cinema history played by the decade's scream queen, and you never notice. In 1980, she married her Howling co-star Christopher Stone. They had a daughter, Gabrielle, in 1984. Then October 1995, Christopher Stone died of a sudden heart attack. He was 53. Dee Wallace has said losing him nearly ended her. Instead, she rebuilt. She married producer Skip Bellier in 1998. She kept acting 250 film credits and counting, and she became something nobody predicted. A healer. She's written multiple self-help books, runs a call-in radio show on self-love, all grounded in the pain of losing her soulmate. Today in 2026, Dee Wallace is 77, still working. Recent credits on General Hospital. Estimated net worth around $4 million. She played the mother every suburban child wished they had. In real life, she lost her father, her first husband, almost herself, and she used every piece of that loss to teach others how to keep going. But the most devastating story of all wasn't shot on camera. It belonged to a voice you've heard 1,000 times and never met.
Does he sleep at night? I don't know. What's the matter with Elliott?
Pat Welsh as the voice of E.T. Patricia Anderson Welsh, née Carol, born February 11th, 1915, San Francisco, California. She worked San Francisco radio soap operas in the 1940s. She had exactly one visible film credit, uncredited, the 1940 picture Waterloo Bridge. For the next 40 years, to the world, she was nobody. She was 67 years old when she became E.T. And here's the fact that changes everything you think you know about the film. E.T.'s voice. That rasp you've heard 1,000 times? It's the voice of a chain smoker's damaged throat. 2 packs a day. For decades. Sound designer Ben Burt was in a San Francisco camera store. She was buying film. He heard her voice across the counter. He stopped breathing. He asked her to audition. She was paid $380 for 9.5 hours of work. Her voice was blended with Deborah Winger's for the final character. The next year, George Lucas hired her. She voiced Boushh in Return of the Jedi. Pat Welsh died of pneumonia. January 26, 1995. Green Valley, Arizona. She was 79 years old. The same habit that gave her the voice took her life. The voice a billion people have wept for belonged to a widow in a camera store, paid less than the price of a bicycle. That is the whole story of Hollywood, told in one woman. But one cast member's childhood was darker than any of these adult tragedies. She was 7 when it started.
Oh, God!
Elliott.
What?
Elliott?
Drew Barrymore as Gertie. Drew Blythe Barrymore, born February 22nd, 1975, Culver City, California. Great-granddaughter of Maurice Barrymore, granddaughter of the legendary John. She shot a dog food commercial at 11 months old. Her father, John Drew Barrymore was a violent alcoholic. Her mother Jade was, in Drew's own words, less a parent than a manager. She was 7 years old when she became Gertie. Gertie was the youngest Taylor child, the shriek in the closet, the wise one who teaches E.T. to speak, the little girl in the cowgirl hat on Halloween. She was the reason millions of adults cried in 1982, because Drew Barrymore at 7 had a face the camera simply loved. Now I need you to stop and really hear this one. 2 years after E.T. premiered, Drew had her first drink. She was 9. By 9, a regular at Studio 54. By 10, marijuana. By 12, cocaine. By 13, rehab 18 months at Van Nuys Behavioral Health Hospital. At 14, a suicide attempt. At 15, she legally emancipated herself from her parents. On the set of E.T., Spielberg had noticed how fragile her home life was. Decades later, she'd say he was the only adult in her childhood who truly watched out for her. At her request, he became her godfather, and then she clawed her way back. She co-founded Flower Films in 1995. She produced The Wedding Singer, Never Been Kissed, Charlie's Angels. She commanded $15 million per picture at her peak. 2 daughters. She gave up drinking for good in 2019. In 2020, she launched The Drew Barrymore Show, now one of the top-rated daytime talkers in America. Today, in 2026, Drew Barrymore is 51. Her estimated net worth is $85 million. Gertie was the kid who taught a creature how to speak. The actress who played her had to teach herself how to survive, one brutal year at a time. With no adult in the room, the miracle isn't that she made it. The miracle is that she made it and stayed warm. The supporting cast. Not every face got a full arc. Some had one scene, one line, one kiss. Erica Eleniak, the girl Elliott kisses. Age 12. E.T. was her debut. Original Baywatch babe as Shawnee MacLaine from 1989 to 1992. Playboy's Miss July, 1989. Still alive at 56. Just announced for the Baywatch reboot. C. Thomas Howell as Tyler, age 15. E.T. was his film debut. 1 year later, he was Ponyboy in The Outsiders. He was one of the final 2 considered for Marty McFly. Michael J. Fox got it. Still working at 59. Casey Martell as Greg, age 14, best known after E.T. as Eddie on Growing Pains, 7 seasons. Retired from acting in 1992, got a master's in family therapy. Today, a financial advisor in Los Angeles, still alive at 58. Sean Fry as Steve, age 13. A handful of TV roles in the 1980s. Then he left the industry, still alive in 2026. One of the 8 is gone. Pat Welsh, the stranger in the camera store, the voice that asked to phone home. Her lungs finally caught up with her. The rest? Scattered across 5 decades of second acts. A postal worker in New Jersey, a talk show host worth $85 million, a Zen priest, a self-help teacher, a working child star, a therapist turned financial advisor, a Baywatch babe reprising herself at 56. E.T. told you the gentlest creature in the universe could survive a crash landing on Earth if just one child loved him enough. The people who made that case were mostly children themselves, and most of them didn't get that kind of love at home. They carried the film into their adult lives anyway. One of them taught the world how to say goodbye. One never learned how to say hello to a normal childhood, and one gave the alien a voice she couldn't afford to keep. That's E.T. That's Hollywood. That's the price of the bicycle across the moon. Drop a comment. Which story hit you hardest? And here's the real question. Did you know that the voice of E.T. belonged to a 67-year-old widow in a camera store, paid $380 for her work? Whose 2-pack-a-day habit gave the alien his sound and eventually killed her? Once you know that, you'll never hear E.T. phone home the same way again. If you want more stories behind the films you grew up with, subscribe. That's the only way you'll see the next one.